As a Brit, I have always been fascinated by the American frontier and its folk heroes. There's Paul Bunyan, the king-size lumberjack, John Henry with his mighty hammer, and of course Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. But what about the women? What about those backwoods women of Kentucky and Tennessee who worked right alongside the men, clearing the land, building the cabins, hunting, growing crops? I decided it was time to tell a story about a strong woman, an American heroine. If she was around today, you might even call her a superhero. Her name, if you don't know it already, is Sally Ann Thunder Ann Whirlwind. And Sally Ann Thunder Ann Whirlwind was the wife of Davy Crockett. And this story is about the day that she met her sweetie. One day, Davy Crockett went out into the woods to do some bear hunting. After a while, it started to rain real hard, and so he found a big tree, and he was kind of sleepy. So he lay down on a branch, and he slept for a long time. In fact, he slept so long that when he woke up, it was almost sundown. But damn it, his head was stuck in the crotch of the tree, and he hollered and he hollered so loud all those leaves fell off the tree, and he pulled and he twisted, and you know, Davy Crockett is a pretty strong guy. He could not get out of the crotch of that tree. His head was really stuck. Well, he was starting to think that he was a goner when he heard a female voice. "What's the matter, stranger?" Well, difficult as it was looking up from his crotch of the tree, he couldn't believe his eyes. There was an extraordinary woman, and she was as tall as a hickory sapling. She had legs and arms like keelboat tillers. Well, my head's stuck here. And if you can help me get my head out, sweetie, I'll get you a pretty little comb. Well, don't call me sweetie, and I don't want any pretty little comb neither. I will help you get out your old coconut, but just because I want to. And then, as Davy Crockett watched to his amazement, she pulled a bunch of rattlesnakes out of her bag. And those rattlesnakes, she started tying them and twisting them together as they wriggled around and making a long, long snake rope. And as she was making this rope, she kept on talking. I can outsmart, outsneeze, outlift, outrun any varmint from Maine to Louisiana. And what's more, I can sing a wolf to sleep and out-scream a panther. And she kept on going, and she was wrapping those snakes together and making this long rope. And then she got that rope and she tossed it over the top of the branch that had Davy stuck, and she started to pull, and she said, "Furthermore, sweetie, I can do whatever I like better than you." Well, you know, Davy Crockett, he was known to brag, but now he had met his match. And then as she pulled, and the forest was shaking. It seemed like the world was about to open as she pulled and pulled, and that branch just about bent back double. And then Davy Crockett was able to lift up his head easy as you like. Now, he was kind of dizzy. Maybe it was lying stuck in that tree for hours, or maybe it was this extraordinary woman he had just met. So finally, when he got his balance back, he said, "What's your name, Mom?" My name is Sally Ann Thunder and Whirlwind, but if you watch your manners, you can call me Sally. Well, from that day on, Davy Crockett was crazy in love with Sally Ann Thunder and Whirlwind. And everywhere he went, he would ask for stories about her. The preacher said that she could dance a rock to pieces and that she rode a panther bareback. The blacksmith said that she could crack a walnut between her two front teeth. And the schoolma'am said that when she wanted to go across Salt River, all she had to do was use her apron as a sail and her left leg as a rudder. But Davy Crockett's favorite story was about the day that she tamed a grizzly, and it's my favorite too. Well, it happened like this. One day, Sally was working in her cabin and she was churning butter and she had a pot of dumplings on the stove when she heard a scratching outside. Suddenly the door swung open and in walked the great king bear of the mud forest. Whoa, and as he started moving towards Sally, she quickly grabbed a dumpling from the pot and she stuffed it in that king bear's mouth. Whoa, it was delicious. King Bear's eyes watered with tears. And then, as he moved towards Sally, he caught a whiff of her, and he started to think that she might taste quite delicious too. And then, with his jaws opening and closing, he started backing her into the corner. Poor Sally, her heart was hammering and her knees were knocking. And as the king bear with his hot breath blew on her face, she got up her courage and she said, Would you like to dance? Well, as you probably know, no bear can resist an invitation to a square dance. And the bear said, Love to. And then he bowed pretty sweet. And the two of them started kicking and dancing and whooping and swinging each other around in the room. And Sally was singing a little tune. And then Sally, she was real smart. She took a string and she tied it to that big bear's ankle. And then she tied it to her butter churn. And so as the bear was dancing around, he was doing her work and churning that butter. Well, it's not surprising that when Davy Crockett heard that story, he was even more in love with Sally. As he liked to say, Sally's the whole steamboat. And that means that Sally was mighty special. Well, there are a lot more stories about Sally Ann Thunder and Whirlwind and how she licked that rascal Mike Think. And of course, there are more stories about her larger-than-life romance with Davy Crockett. But that's for another time. All that I can say for now is it wasn't long until Davy was the whole steamboat too.